Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Rika Gardner, and welcome back to another episode of Read Along with Me. So for today's episode, we're gonna be reading 6 chapters. Last episode we read 4 chapters. So what happened last episode is that Melinda starts to make consensus with Ivy, and Ivy helps Melinda out with her tree, and Melinda gets the hang of it on her tree, and we also learn that Rachel is starting to date Andy, and that really concerns Melinda, so and I've already spilled the juice of what of who did the thing to Melinda by accident. So yeah. But for today's episode, we're going to be reading a part where Melinda has to write a report for her social studies, and she has to give an oral presentation about it, and so on and so on. And yeah, let's get reading. The best place to figure this out is my closet, my throne room, my foster home. I want a shower. Maybe I should tell Greta Ingrid. My Swedish isn't good enough. I could talk to Rachel. Yeah, right. I could say I'd heard bad things about Andy. It would only make him more attractive. I could maybe tell her what happened, as if she'd listen. What if she told Andy? What would she do? What would he do? There isn't much room for pacing. I take 2 steps, turn 2 steps back. I bang my shin against the chair. Stupid room. What a dumb idea. Sitting in a closet like this. I flop in the chair. It whooshes out. Janitor smells. Feet, beef jerky. Shirts left in the washer too long. The turkey bone sculptor gives off a faint rotting odor. 3 baby food jars of potpourri don't make a dent in the sink. Maybe there's a dead rat decomposing the wall, right near the hot air vent. Maya Angelou watches me, 2 fingers on the side of her face. It is an intelligent pose. Maya wants me to tell Rachel. I take off my sweatshirt. My t-shirt sticks to me. They still have the heat running full blast, even though it's warm enough to crack open the windows. That's what I need, a window. As much as I complain about what winter cold air is easier to breathe, slipping like silver mercury down my lungs and out again. April is humid, with slush evaporating or rain drizzling. A warm, moldy washcloth of a month. The edges of my pictures curl in the damp. There has been some progress in this whole tree project, I guess. Like Picasso. I've gone through different phases. There's the confused period when I wasn't sure what the assignment really was. The spaz period when I couldn't draw a tree to save my life. The dead period when all my trees looked like they had been through a forest fire or a blight. I'm getting better. Don't know what to call this phase yet. All these drawings make the closet seem smaller. Maybe I should bribe a janitor to haul all this stuff to my house. Make my bedroom more like this. More like home. Maya taps me on my shoulder. I'm not listening. I know, I don't want to hear it. I need to do something about Rachel. Something for her. Maya tells me without saying anything. I stall. Rachel hates me. Rachel will hate me. She already hates me. She won't listen. I have to try. I groan and rip out a piece of notebook paper. I write her a note, a left-handed note, so she won't know it's from me. Andy Evans will use you. He's not what he pretends to be. I heard he attacked a 9th grader. Be very, very careful. A friend. P.S. Tell Greta Ingrid too. I didn't want the Swedish supermodel on my conscience either. Mr. Freeman is a jerk. Instead of leaving me alone to find my muse, a real quote, I swear, he lands on the stool next to me and starts criticizing. What is wrong with my tree? He overflows with words describing how bad it sucks. It's stiff, unnatural. It doesn't flow. It is an insult to trees everywhere. I agree. My tree is hopeless. It isn't art. It's an excuse not to take sewing class. I don't belong in Mr. Freeman's room anymore than I belong in the Martha's or in my little girl pink room. This is where the real artists belong, like Ivy. I carry the linoleum block to the garbage can and throw it in hard enough to make everyone look at me. Ivy frowns through her wire sculpture. I sit back down and lay my head on the table. Mr. Freeman retrieves the block from the garbage. He brings back the Kleenex box too. How could he tell I was crying? You are getting better at this, but it's not good enough. This looks like a tree, but it's an average, ordinary, everyday, boring tree. Breathe life into it. Make it bend. Trees are flexible, so they don't snap. Scar it. Give it a twisted branch. Perfect trees don't exist. Nothing is perfect. Flaws are interesting. Be the tree. He has this ice cream voice like a kindergarten teacher. If he thinks I can do it, then I'll try one more time. My fingers tip over the linoleum knife. Mr. Freeman pats my shoulder once, then turns to make someone else miserable. I wait until he isn't watching, then try to carve life into my flat linoleum square. Maybe I could carve off all the linoleum to call it empty block. If a famous person did that, it would probably be really popular and sell for a fortune. If I do it, I'll flunk. Be the tree. What kind of advice is that? Mr. Freeman has been hanging out with too many new age weirdos. I was a tree in the 2nd grade play, and I made a bad sheep. I stood there with my arms outstretched like branches and my head dripping in the breeze. It gave me sore arms. I doubt trees are ever told to be the screwed up 9th grader. David Petrakis' lawyer had a meeting with Mr. Neck and some kind of and some kind of teacher lawyer. Guess who won? I bet David could skip class the rest of the year if he wanted and still get an A, which he would never do. But you better believe that whenever David raises his hand, Mr. Neck lets him talk as much as he wants. David, quiet David, is full of long, drawn-out, rambling opinions about social studies. The rest of the class is grateful. We bow down to the almighty David, who keeps the neck off our backs. Unfortunately, Mr. Neck still gives tests and most of us fail them. Mr. Neck makes an announcement. Anyone who is flunking can write an extra credit report on a cultural influence at the turn of the century. He skipped the Industrial Revolution so he could drag our class past the year 1900. He does not want all of us in summer school. I don't want to see him in summer school either. I write about the suffragettes. Before the suffragettes came along, women were treated like dogs. Women can't vote. Women could not vote. Women could not own property. Women were not allowed in many schools. They were dolls with no thoughts or opinions or voices of their own. Then the suffragettes marched in, full of loud, in-your-face ideas. They got arrested and thrown in jail, but nothing shut them up. They fought and fought until they earned the rights, and they should have had all along. I write the best report ever. Anything I copy from a notebook. Anything I copy from a book. I put in notes and footnotes. Footnote? I use books, magazine articles, and a videotape. I think about looking for an old suffragette in a nursing home, but they are probably all dead. I even hand it in on time. Mr. Neck scowls. He looks down on me and says, "To get credit for the report, you have to deliver it orally tomorrow at the beginning of class." There is no way I'm reading my suffragette report in front of the class. That wasn't part of the original assignment. Mr. Neck changed it at the very last second because he wants to flunk me or hates me or something. But I've written a really good report and I'm not going to let an idiot teacher jerk me around like this. I asked David Petrakis for advice. We come up with a plan. I get to class early when Mr. Neck is still in the lounge. I write what I need to on the board and cover the words with a suffragette protest sign. My box from the copy shop is on the floor. Mr. Neck walks in. He grumbles that I can go first. I stand suffragette tall and calm. It is a lie. My insides feel like I'm caught in a tornado. My toes curl inside my sneakers, trying to grip the floor so I won't get sucked out of the window. Mr. Neck nods at me. I pick up my report as if I'm going to read it out loud. I stand there, papers trembling as if a breeze is blowing through the closed door. I turn around and rip my poster off the blackboard. The suffragettes fought for the right to speak. They were attacked, arrested, and thrown in jail for daring to do what they wanted, like they were. I am willing to stand up for what I believe. No one should be forced to give speeches. I chose to stay silent. The class reads slowly, some of them moving their lips. Mr. Neck turns around to see what everyone is staring at. I nod at David. He joins me at the front of the room and I hand him my box. Melinda has to deliver her report to the class as part of the assignment. She made copies everyone can read. He passes out the copies. They cost me $6.72 at the office supply store. I was going to make a cover page and color it, but I haven't gotten much allowance recently, so I just put the title at the top of the first page. My plan is to stand in front of the class for the 5 minutes I was given for my presentation. The suffragettes must have planned out and timed their protest too. Mr. Neck has other plans. He gives me a D and escorts me to the authorities. I forgot how the suffragettes were hauled off to jail. Duh. I go on a tour of the guidance counselor's office, principals, and wind back up in Miss. I am back to being a discipline problem again. I need a lawyer. I showed up every day this semester, sat my butt in every class, did some homework, and didn't cheat on tests. I still get slammed in Miss. There is no way they can punish me for not speaking. It isn't fair. What do they know about me? What do they know about the inside of my head? Flashes of lightning, children crying, caught in an avalanche, pinned by worry, squirming under the weight of doubt, guilt, fear. The walls in Miss are still white. Andy Beast isn't here. Thank goodness for small favors. A boy with lime-colored hair who looks like he's channeling for an alien species dozes. 2 goths in black velvet dresses and artfully torn pantyhose trade Mona Lisa smiles. They cut school to stand in line for killer concert tickets. Miss is a small price to pay for row 10, seats 21 and 22. I simmer. Lawyers on TV always tell their clients to not say anything. The cops say that thing. Anything you say will be used against you. Self-incrimination. I looked it up. 3-point vocab word. So why does everyone make such a big, hairy deal about me not talking? Maybe I don't want to incriminate myself. Maybe I don't like the sound of my voice. Maybe I don't have anything to say. The boy with the lime-colored hair wakes up when he falls out of his chair. The goth girl's whiny. Mr. Neck picks his nose when he thinks we aren't looking. I need a lawyer. David Petrarca sends me a note in social studies, typed, he thinks it's horrible that my parents didn't videotape Mr. Neck's class or stick up for me the way his folks did. It feels so good to have someone feel sorry for me. I don't mention that my parents don't know what happened. They'll figure out what happened soon enough at the next meeting with the guidance counselor. I think David should be a judge. His latest career goal is to be a quantum physics genius. I don't know what that means, but he says his father is furious. His dad is right. David was made for the law. Deadly calm, turbocharged brain, and a good eye for weakness. He stops by my locker. I tell him Mr. Neck gave me a D for the suffragette report. He has a point. It was a great report. You read it. I wrote a bibliography and I didn't copy from the encyclopedia. It was the best report ever. It's not my fault Mr. Neck doesn't get performance art. David pauses to offer me a stick of gum. It's a delaying tactic, that the kind that juries love. But you got it wrong. The suffragettes were all about speaking up, screaming for their rights. You can't speak up for your right to be silent. That's letting the bad guys win. If the suffragettes did that, women wouldn't be able to vote yet. I blow a bubble in his face. He folds the gum wrappers into tiny triangles. Don't get me wrong, I think what you did was kind of cool, and getting stuck in misses wasn't fair. But don't expect to make a difference unless you speak up for yourself. Do you lecture all your friends like this? Only the ones I like. We both chew on this for a minute. The bell rings. I keep looking in my locker for a book that I already know isn't there. David checks his watch 100 times. We hear Principal bellow, Let's move it, people. Maybe I'll call you. Maybe I won't answer. Chew, chew, bubble, blow, bubble pop. Maybe I will. Is he asking me out? I don't think so. But he kind of is. I guess I'll answer if he calls, but if he touches me, I'll explode. So a day is out of the question. No touching. I stay after school to work on the tree sketches. Mr. Freeman helps me for a while. He gives me a roll of brown paper and a piece of white chalk and shows me how to draw a tree in 3 sweeping lines. He doesn't care how many mistakes I make. Just 1, 2, 3 like a waltz, he says. Over and over. I use up a mile of the paper, but he doesn't care. This may be the root of his budget problem of the school board. Someone crackles over the intercom and tells Mr. Freeman he's late for a faculty meeting. Mr. Freeman says the kind of words you don't usually hear from the teachers. He gives me a new piece of chalk and tells me to draw roots. You can't grow a decent tree without roots. The art room is one of the places I feel safe. I hum and don't worry about looking stupid. Roots. But I try. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I don't worry about the next day or minute. 1, 2, 3. Somebody flicks the lights off. My head snaps up. It is there. Andy Beast. Little rabbit heart leaps out of my chest and scampers across the paper, leaving bloody footprints on my roots. He turns the lights back on. I smell him. Have to find out where he gets that cologne. I think it's called fear. This is turning into one of those repeating nightmares where you keep falling but never hit the floor. I only feel like I just smack into the ground at 100 miles an hour. You seen Rachel? Rachel Bruin? I sit completely still. Maybe I can blend in with the metal tables and crumbling clay pots. He walks toward me, long, slow strides. The smell chokes me. I shiver. She's supposed to meet me, but I can't find her anywhere. You know who she is. It sits on my table. Its leg smears my chalk drawing, blurring blurring the roots into a messy fog. "Hello, anyone home? Are you deaf?" It stares at my face. I crush my jaws together so hard my teeth crumble to dust. I'm a deer frozen in the headlights of a tractor trailer. Is he going to hurt me again? He couldn't, not in school. Could he? Why can't I scream? Say something, do something. Why am I so afraid? Andy! I've been waiting outside! Rachel sweeps into the room, wearing an artsy-fartsy gypsy skirt and a necklace of eye-sized mirror. She pouts and Andy leaps off the table, ripping my papers, scattering bits of chalk. Ivy walks through the door, bumping Rachel accidentally. She hesitates. She has to feel that something is going on, then shakes her sculpture off the shelf and sits at the table next to me. Rachel looks at me, but she doesn't say anything. She must have gotten my note. I mailed it over a week ago. I stand up. Rachel gives us a half wave and says, "Ciao." Andy puts his arm around her waist and pulls her close to his body as they float out the door. Ivy is talking to me, but it takes a while before I can hear her. "What a jerk," she says, pinches the clay. "I can't believe she's going out with him. Can you? It's like I don't know her anymore. He's trouble." She slaps a hunk of clay on the table. Believe me, that creep is trouble with a capital T. I'd love to stay and chat, but my feet won't let me. I walk home instead of taking the bus. I unlock the front door and walk straight up to my room, across the rug, and into my closet without taking off my backpack. Then I close the closet door behind me. I bury my face into the clothes on the left side of the rack. Clothes that haven't fit for years. I stuff my mouth with old fabric and scream until there's no sounds left under my skin. So, what we're seeing here is that Melinda is trying to warn Rachel, like, don't date this guy, he's bad news. I heard that he's attacked a 9th grader, blah blah blah. And Melinda has to write a report on the Suffragettes, and she has to give an oral presentation about it. And then she decided not to speak in the presentation and just have David give the presentation for her. And she got into detention again for not speaking. And David gives her advice about speaking, and Andy was looking for Rachel, and he creeps up on Melinda again. He keeps on creeping up on Melinda in this book, but like he creeps up on Melinda, and Rachel was very upset with him, and because he didn't meet her outside, and she was just very upset. And Ivy was like, this guy is trouble. So yeah. Yeah. My discussion question for today is, do you think that so in one of, I think in one of the episodes I asked you guys if you think Melinda likes David, but I'm just asking, but for this episode I'm asking if you think that David actually likes Melinda, because I think he does. um yeah, I think these kids like each other. But yeah, just let me know in the comments below and let's get the discussion going. That's why I started this series, and yeah. So, yeah, guys, we are almost done with this book, and that means we're almost done with the first season. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed the series, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Remember to stay happy, stay safe, and stay cool. And I am off to the moon, and I will be back soon.